Welcome back, Valley friends. Today we're deciding Jafar's fate in the quest The Trial of Eternity. To unlock this quest, you will need to reach level 10 friendship with Jafar. Once you've met the requirements, you can chat with him to get started. Jafar has again been causing havoc around the Isle, and as always he's blaming it on everyone else instead of taking responsibility. We've had enough of his plots, and it's time to make a final decision about his status in the valley. We're going to have our first ever trial in the valley and decide what should happen with Jafar. For this we'll need to first chat with the other villagers to find out what Jafar has been up to recently. We'll also need to find someone that is willing to defend the villain. But Jafar will not hear it. He says he'll defend himself. He doesn't trust any of the other villagers to do a proper job. We're fine with that, so we'll get everything ready to hold court and determine his fate. First we'll check in with Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge thinks it's about time we hold Jafar accountable for his actions, and is happy to be the prosecuting attorney in the case against Jafar. He also suggests we'll need to craft some proper furniture for the affair to make it all look professional. He tells us which materials we'll need and gives us a list of furniture to craft. We'll get to this in a bit. We still have some villagers to talk to. Next, we can chat with Eve. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear Jafar is standing trial for all his crimes. We ask Eve to help keep an eye on Jafar while we put everything together for the trial. We give her permission to use her lasers on any strange contraptions he might build. Eve seems excited at the prospect of blowing up his inventions. Hopefully she doesn't get too laser happy. Next we'll chat with Jafar's most recent victim, Oswald. Oswald still feels the same as before and believes Jafar should be given a second chance. But he has heard from other villagers that Jafar is still going around and being terrible towards others, so he understands the need for a trial. We ask Oswald if he could help us find the perfect candidate to be the judge in the trial. He will help, but thinks this might be a difficult task because most villagers are not happy with Jafar. Once we're done chatting with Oswald, we'll head over to Remy. We ask the chef if he is doing okay, and what his thoughts are on the whole situation with Jafar. We've never had to exile a villager, even though I'm sure plenty of players would like to exile a certain mother, but we really don't know what else to do in this situation. Remy as always thinks food could help with the problem. In his own experience, good food could improve people's moods and their behavior. We don't think this will help during the trial, but we might be able to use this idea as part of our sentencing instead of just exiling the villain. Next we can chat with Gaston. As a villain himself, he might have some insight into our current situation. As always, Gaston wants everything to be about him and how amazing he is. He wants Jafar to answer for his crimes, but he also wants everyone to know that Jafar picked him to move his heavy equipment around because he's the strongest in the valley. So to appease him, we agree that we will allow him to set up the courtroom once we've crafted all the furnishings. This will show everyone how strong he is. This satisfied him and we managed to trick him into doing some work for once, so we're happy too. Finally we can chat with Rapunzel. We tell her about the trial and ask her what her opinion is on Jafar. On the one hand, he had told her her art was lacking because she had no concept of geometrics, but after doing some research for herself, she found that it did help to make her art more realistic. On the other hand, he was also really terrible towards the capybara. He had tied them all together in a train and tried to force them to carry his things around. So, she's a bit conflicted about him. She does think it would be great if Jafar could do some community service. Perhaps we can get him to help the animals as part of his sentencing to teach him some kindness. Now that we're done chatting with all the villagers, we can start preparing the furniture for the courtroom. We'll need to collect 20 pieces of tropical wood from the wild tangles. I normally use my vacuum to collect these or just water some of the large evil plants. Then we're going to need 10 brass ingots. For this we'll need to go mining for copper and zinc in the wild tangles. Then we can craft the ingots we need. Whilst at our crafting station we can also craft the 2 pieces of fiber using some seaweed which we've caught in the valley by fishing outside the bubbles. Then we're going to need 6 pieces of bamboo which you can find in the wild tangles. Next we'll need 10 pieces of plastic scraps. These are found by fishing outside the bubbles by the docks. Once we have all our materials, we can head back to our crafting station to craft 2 bamboo benches and 2 attorney stands for our courtroom. Then we can head into the ancient ruins, where Gaston should be waiting for us to deliver the furnishings. Gaston is being very helpful for once, and I'm super surprised. He even asks about seating for the judge, which we hadn't even considered. Gaston knows just what to do and places a chair he thinks will be perfect for a judge. We thank him for all his hard work, but we still have some things to take care of before we can get the trial started. We'll need to check in with Oswald to find out if he's found someone to be the judge for our trial. Oswald had spoken to all the villagers, and none of them thought they would be a good candidate for the position of judge. But they all agreed that there was one person who would be perfect for the job, and that's us. They believe we're the only person that would be able to decide what's best for Jafar and the valley. We agree to take up the position of judge, and Oswald gives us some tips on what he thinks is the best outfit to wear to ensure we look the part. You will need to put on an outfit that is elegant. Mine already met that requirement. Then you'll need to put on the Commodore's powdered wig. If you don't own this, you will need to order it from Scrooge's shop. Once you have your outfit ready, you can head to the courtroom which Gaston has set up in the ancient ruins. Scrooge and Jafar will start their arguments as soon as you enter the courtroom. Make your way over to your judge's chair while they have their discussion. Once they are done, you can chat with Gaston, who is our first villager to testify in the trial. Gaston starts by explaining that even though Jafar had hypnotized him and used him to move his equipment around, he can't be completely upset with him because he did use him for his strength, and Gaston believes he is the strongest villager. We tell Gaston that he cannot continue testifying if he's going to make it all about himself. Gaston relents and continues by saying there are plenty of villagers in the valley, including himself, who have done some terrible things in the past, and we still allow them to live among us. Perhaps Jafar deserves the same treatment. We ask him if he thinks anyone else has done things as bad as Jafar, but Gaston has no opinion on this and tells us that's our job to figure out. Once he is done testifying, we will need to listen to the others debate. Once they are done debating, we will have our next villager come up to testify. This time it will be Oswald. Oswald believes Jafar should be given a chance, but understands that we need to prove that the villain can be trusted to not cause more havoc. He acknowledges that Jafar once lived amongst us in the valley before the forgetting had started, but no one remembers what he had been like back then. For all we know, he was just as bad as he is now. Oswald suggests finding these lost memories to see if any of them confirm what Jafar is saying. We think this is a great idea and would give us what we need to make our final decision. We tell everyone that the court will take a break to search for this evidence. Once we come back, we will make our final decision and sentence Jafar accordingly. Whilst everyone takes a break, we'll need to head to the borderlands to find our first memory. Here we'll find a memory showing Jafar stargazing with Stitch. They look friendly enough. Next we're heading to the lagoon, where we should be able to find the next clue. Here we find a memory showing Jafar and Merlin placing some birdhouses for our raven friends. And lastly, we'll be heading to the Overlook to find our final memory. This one shows Mr. McDuck and Jafar in front of what looks like a gem stall. I'm hoping this becomes a reality in a future update. Once we've uncovered all the memories, we can head back to the courtroom in the ancient ruins. Here we can chat with Jafar one final time to let him know what our decision is. We have sentenced the villain to some community service. This will conclude the quest, The Trial of Eternity. As always, please leave us a like if you found this video useful, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. I will see you next time as we do some community service with Jafar.